So this screen, again, it's a little bit different than yours. Hopefully yours will match with mine soon. This is the newer version of Illustrator, but we're just going to start with a normal page size document, okay? Today we're going to start working on using that mesh tool, and a lot of what you've created has been very flat. I'm going to hold that shift key to drag a perfect circle. Don't forget, whenever you hold that shift key, you get a perfect version of whatever that shape may be, okay? So we're used to having the ability to add a color or some kind of a fill into here, and that's something that is perfectly normal for us. It's flat, and if we need some dimension, I know people have been adding some little other either paint blobs or pen stroked paths, things like that, in order to give it volume, okay? But this time we're going to actually start studying this guy over here, and he's called the mesh tool. The mesh tool is actually quite important. The mesh tool is a really simple way where you can add variety of values into that particular item. So in this case, the very first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be shading in a sphere. And that sphere could be any color, but you do have to kind of go back to your intro days and your beginning drawing days where you remember that if the light is coming from right here, this is going to be your bright spot, and then you're going to have a darker sort of crescent along this opposite side of the light source. So figure out what your light source is. Otherwise, just stick with the way I do mine. Then my light source will be right over here where this is the brightest and this is the darkest. But if you feel like you can handle moving that around, absolutely feel free. Just make sure it's consistent with your piece. Now, when we go to this mesh tool, it looks like sort of a hashtag, but kind of funky. It's all kind of twisted and contorted. And basically what you can start off doing, you can see when I go over the top of that shape that I just created with the ellipse tool, I get that little grid with a plus sign. Basically what it is a way to add parts onto my mesh. So I'm laying this mesh over the top of this shape in order to give it volume. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with one right here. And you can see when I click once, I get a vertical and a horizontal. If I were to just click on here on this particular horizontal, I would just get a vertical. Control Z, I'm going to undo that one. I'm going to probably put this into 3 vertical and 3 horizontal, though you can do more, but I'll explain why more is not always best. I'm going to click once here, which, because there's nothing here, will give me 1 and 1. So I'm going to click there. So I've got that one. And then if I come right down here, it will do the same. I'll get a vertical and a horizontal. So I can click right there, and now I've got these lines filling this sphere. Okay? I can manipulate these lines if I need to. I can go to my direct selection tool. I can click on an anchor point, and I can manipulate that. I can kind of pull that one down a little bit. Let's say I really want to make that down in this way and really emphasize that curve in there. I could absolutely do that. Again, I click one time to activate it, and then I click and drag to move it. And that would be what I would do. But don't forget, you've got your best friend on your keyboard, Control Z. If you don't like what just happened, Control Z and try it again. I always have my left hand on my keyboard ready for that. That's just a common kind of a move, all right? Now as we're going into color, again, your color, let me see where mine went. Your color is not, my color is not showing up very easily like yours is probably. So I'm going to go ahead and put my swatches out. Swatches is a pretty easy way for me to be working on this. The very first thing I can do is I can go ahead and I can fill this shape with a color. Okay, so I can go ahead and fill it with, I don't know if it's going to let me. Okay, well, let's just start grabbing things up. Why are we not letting me fill this? All right, well, we're a little bit awry right now, but we can move with this. So if I click on an anchor point, I'm on the direct selection tool and I've clicked on an anchor point. I can then go ahead. Why are we doing nothing? Pause, give me one moment. Getting back to it. Sorry, forgot to make sure that this was loaded. I need to have my fill color active. And there we go. So it was giving me an outer stroke of red at some point. So I've got that active. But now we're going to go ahead and start giving this shadowing. So I said this was one of the brighter areas. So this is what I need to do to get that area to look a little bit brighter. I'm going to grab that anchor point with my direct selection tool. And then I'm going to go ahead, and I can do it one of two ways. One is, if I have the correct color over here, I can go ahead and use it. Two, I can actually come in here and double click and bring that out to a brighter value on that same panel of colors and say, okay, and you can see what it did was it dropped that color into there. Okay. I can continue to manipulate that color. Let me zoom in so that we can actually see. I can continue to manipulate that color by, for example, pulling. I'm going to go ahead and grab that anchor point. I'm going to grab the handle and I'm going to pull it outwards. So I can manipulate where that color happens to go and how far it happens to come out. Okay? Now, I need to get some darkness over here. Again, I could simply go in here and grab that anchor point and come in, double click, and I'm going to drop it down to like a dark, sort of a shade of red. I can also grab multiple anchor points though. So this is actually a really helpful tool. I can grab that next one. I can hold the shift key, grab that one, and grab that one. And then I can eyedropper on that same dark color. So that was another way to add color. And this eyedropper tool is going to be really, really important as you guys are building these shapes. Because as I'm coming outwards, I don't want it to be dark and then just red. I want to start to have that color come out a little bit more. So what I can do is I can grab the anchor point and then I can get a color that sort of goes in that area. Say that's too dark. No, I want it to be something a little bit lighter. Maybe right there is what I like. So I know that I can manipulate this and make those values move appropriately. I'm going to click off of it. It looks a little bit choppy in some of these areas. So again, I'm going to have to come in. I'm going to grab that mesh point. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that value with my eyedropper tool so it kind of pulled that darkness out a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to grab that guy. I'm going to eyedropper, and the keyboard shortcut, by the way, for the eyedropper tool is I, the letter I. So if that helps you, definitely use that. Too dark, too dark, too dark. Maybe I like that one a little bit more. Okay. Now, if I discover I don't have enough, I need a little bit more work over in here. If I don't have enough of the mesh points, I can go ahead and still add more into there. So let's say I feel like I need another one right here. Just a horizontal one. I'm going to go on one of the verticals and click, and it will just give me that horizontal. So you can add them. I believe if you alt-click on one of them, that was alt-clicking. I removed the vertical and the horizontal. If I just alt-click on that one I just placed, I remove that one. So you can remove the mesh points as well. So if they are too close together, so for example, if I have them like this, what you will oftentimes end up having are very choppy additions of color. Because when I come into there, so let's say I'm going to put a little bit of a color. I'm going to go with like an oddball color in there. Okay. You can see that that gives me a very sharp finish because it won't extend past this mesh point and this mesh point. So that could be very helpful to you if you find like you need a really sharp, glare mark on a window, for example. So again, that could be a very helpful technique for you, but be careful not to put them too close together when you're looking for very nice and smooth finishes. So I'm going to go ahead and, got to get back on the tool. I'm going to Alt, minus, 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 and I'm going to leave that one there. So basically, as you are working, you're looking to add your mesh on. You're looking to manipulate it to give that sphere volume. After that one is done, there's actually a second level to this, and you may have seen loaded on the screen when you walked in that there's going to be this pepper. This pepper will be waiting for you in Google Classroom, and I'm asking for you to take some time to manipulate the mesh tool and tracing portions of this pepper to get it to be more of a volumed creature. Now it's got to have volume, lights, darks, medium tones, talk about adding shading and highlights, all those great things. So learning how to manipulate that. And how do you do that? You apply the same exact principles that we did on this one, but now you're going to actually trace the portions. And that's a whole nother video for you guys to follow. If you look on YouTube, you're going to find, well, you got, you're going to go ahead and find Jen Glaze Pepper. And there it is right there. So this will walk you, let me turn off that sound. This will walk you through and reminding you of some of the shortcuts, and you have that on your daily menu on your table now. But it will walk you through how you go about adding the mesh, how you go about tracing these portions, how you go about altering and layering to come out with, at the end, sorry, we're very slow today, at the end you're going to have this fully vectored pepper. And the last thing is, for those of you who are looking for an additional level of challenge, I have not just the single red pepper, but I will have a trio of peppers in there. So if you find this is too easy and you're following along with it really easy, I want you to challenge yourself and try to do the trio of peppers. Again, they have beautiful gradation of values and tones that will help you give volume to your finished work, which will definitely apply into our next unit of illustration.